Scott's business, Town and Country Property Auctions, did the 1 millionth appointment that Viewber did, and we promised that whoever did that, we'd give them an interview and the opportunity to shout out a little bit about their own business.
Sure. We are national auction house. We do everything that you'd expect a national auction house to do. We do traditional property auctions. We do modern method auctions should you wish to go down that route. We do 2 auctions a month usually within our business, every second and fourth Wednesday of the month. And realistically, from our perspective, it's everything has just grown exponentially over the last few years.
So why would you say it's grown? I'm fascinated to know why auctions. Auctions always in the past, I've been in the agency world for 45 years, and in the early days, certainly auctions was always considered to be one of those things that people did because they couldn't sell their property elsewhere, or you know, they thought it was unmodernized or unsaleable or whatever it is. That I know has changed dramatically over the years. So explain why you think the auction business has grown so much.
I think it's 2 different factors, realistically. The main one being is we are in uncertain times, and in uncertain times, people turn to certainty. You know, with auction, you're going to get the hammer down exchange of contracts that you want. Auction has also become more available. You know, many high street agents partner up with an auction house now, whereas you used to just get pockets of, you know, auction houses all over the place, and things just went there, you know, when it was last chance saloon sort of thing. But obviously the property ombudsman recommend, you know, when you speak to a client, you discuss all routes to sale. And in my experience, the seller sell for one of 2 motivations. It's either best price, quickest time. And the vast majority of the market obviously falls into the best price category, but not everybody's so fortunate.
What sort of percentage would you say fall into?
I'd say it's probably 90% to 95%
best price.
Best price, yeah. And then you've got 5 to 10% of the market who, you know, banks breathing down their neck, or you know.
That does sound that sounds absolutely right, Scott. I have to say that sounds in my experience, those sort of figures sound right. I mean, obviously, when we started Viewber, we were my métier originally was as an estate agent. We very, very quickly, when we started up, discovered that for auction houses, what Viewber does clearly made a big difference to them, because if you are a national auction house, which you are, a lot of people in the old days didn't have that reach to be able to take on a property that was a long way away from wherever one of their operatives lives, or they had a decent relationship with an agent or someone who could go and show it. As we're on the call, I mean, do you think Viewber has made a difference to the way you've been able to operate?
Oh, 100%. It goes without saying. It opens the door, removes the barriers from being able to list a property outside of your patch, so to speak. We take something on in Liverpool, we take something on in High Wycombe, whichever location we're in. It doesn't matter. We know Viewber can cover us for a viewing. So it takes the having to think about the logistics of a sale out of the equation. You just know you can do it because you're going to be able to get somebody from Viewber to hold the keys, or, you know, even do the photos if you really need it to. It removes so many barriers that it's actually made the listing process a lot easier as well. So it's not just the viewings. It's the other things that come along with it as well.
Okay,
I mean,
well, that's fine. I mean, you know, I'm not here on this call to have a sales call for Viewber, but it's interesting for us because our auction business is very sticky. People who've come to us, you know, the auction houses that have come to use us, which is now pretty much all of them, do find it's very useful. But I'm here to talk about TCPA. So when did you start? What was your route into auction?
I started as a sort of junior estate agent. I was actually going to be a mortgage advisor. During that process of becoming a mortgage advisor, I actually found that I really like being an estate agent. I got into agency and I worked my way up very quickly. So within 18 months of, you know, setting out in agency, I had my own branch. I ran the branch for 5 years. And then a few sort of new style auctions were coming up when, you know, as online started to get bigger, people realized that doing things online was okay. And I'd say that was probably sort of around 2016, 2017 that really started to take off. And I joined an auction house doing remote auctions effectively, and it was pretty much unheard of. You know, there's a handful of companies doing it at the time. We launched a partnership scheme and got into auctions that way. So, you know, it's sort of a blend of the two, because I'd been in an estate agent's shoes. I knew the perils of being an estate agent and what the drawbacks can be, and I saw auction and a new style of auction as being a way to really lift those barriers. And so I never really looked back, to be honest. I think auction, the more you look at it, the more it makes sense. I think people often think it's for the dilapidated properties, but I think that's more because they tend to be the ones with the motivated sellers. So
I do think in the days when chains seem to be getting longer and longer, and the whole process, to be honest with you, seems to be worse and worse. What I've never fully understood is why on earth the lessons that have been learned from auctions aren't applied more to regular estate agency and the legal packs you get together and all this sort of stuff, why that isn't being prepared. I know the government are talking about it now, and they're finally beginning to recognize that actually having some form of upfront information is a good idea. The problem is, it just seems that not everybody's on board. It seems like there are, how do you do it? Who does it? How much is it going to cost? Will the solicitors join in? Because solicitors historically have always wanted to do things themselves. They don't like relying on anybody else's information. You can't put a survey in. When someone says this is binding, what makes it not binding? And as you and I both know, two solicitors can take as long to argue about what constitutes a non-refundable deposit as they will exchange contracts on the properties. We'll finish on this because it's been great to talk and get some idea of what Town and Country Property Auctions do and your position in it. Great to talk a bit about Viewber, but what would you say to the government that they could learn about to put into the private treaty business that you've learned on the auction side?
It's the information side of things. The thing I like about auctions is everything is there, black and white from the word go, and the buyer can make the decision whether or not they want to purchase it fully informed. The main drawback, I think, is obviously the government have tried with this sort of process before. We had HIPS, which same sort of thing. Realistically, it just created barriers to entry again, and I don't think they particularly worked. Equally, at the same time, we were only probably on a 3-month turnaround in conveyancing. So I would actually encourage the government to look at some form of reservation agreement style thing, which I know they're doing, but more binding. I think sellers from a personal perspective are calling out for security. You're entering into something that might take you 6 months to sell and 6 months to actually get the thing through. 1 in 3 sales falling through. Realistically, a chain any longer than 3 is statistically very likely to break down. There's a couple of things. The information side of things would speed the process up, but it is ultimately trying to shorten that process to reduce the number of fall throughs. So learning from auctions is that people do buy with commitment. It's not a commitment problem. I think it's a lack of upfront knowledge as to what a buyer needs to do, and that could all be done with information packs.
Well, I think it's a very different landscape from what it was back when HIPS was brought in, because there's so much more stuff electronically available now. You can do an awful lot of stuff at the touch of a button, and there are a lot of people who are now getting into that space. I just hope that, just for a change, the government actually chooses to listen to the people who understand what's going on, which, to be blunt, is the likes of you and me, because we've been involved in this business for a very long time. Scott, thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on being our millionth customer. Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it very much. Good job.
Thanks, Ed.